everyone, my name is Kelia and welcome back to talking about manga. Today we are talking about Shoujo Manga, which is the third installment of our manga series. So what is Shoujo Manga? Shoujo Manga is usually typically aimed towards girls, which is the word shoujo. Shoujo is girl in Japanese. Shoujo mangas can be of any sort of genre, or like historical, fiction, fantasy, anything like that. But it usually has deeper emotional storylines and tend to be focused on romance. So that is what shoujo is. I like shoujo manga more than I like shonen manga. When I was younger, I liked shonen manga more, but as I've got older, the more like developing emotions, and shoujo manga is what pulls me into it. So today we are going to talk about 10 shoujo manga that we have here at the library that you can check out or put on hold if you go to library.loudon.gov, type in the name of the book, use your library card, and put a hold on it. So let's get started. So the first shoujo manga we are going to talk about is called Snow White with the Red Hair. It is not like Snow White. I mean, it is kind of like Snow White, but it's not like Snow White. So what it is the main character, Shirayuki, has really like unusual, prominently red hair. And the king, or I think the prince in her country, is super conceited, and so he like hoards girls who he thinks are like interesting, and because of her hairstyle, she is summoned to be like part of his harem or like his whatever. So she is a medicine maker and she makes like poultices and stuff for a living. So instead she cuts her hair, she goes into the woods and she intends to run away from her country. While she's in the woods, she runs into a white-haired kind of like swordsman who they become good friends and they bond, and she figures out he's the prince of the country over. And so pretty much what happens is that Shirayuki joins the neighboring country as a like pharmacist in training to the royal family. And of course, maybe Shirayuki might fall in love with the prince, who knows? But it's super cute. It's got a lot of action. There's a lot of developing characters and fun romance in this book. Okay, so if you don't like manga, this next book might be a little weird for you. It's called Kiss Him, Not Me. So in this book, the main character, Sirinuma, she like stands all the hot guys in her grade, and she like imagines them together. Like she likes the idea of the two boys having like a fun relationship more than she likes the idea of her imagining herself with these boys. So what happens is Sirinuma is bigger. In the beginning of the book, she is a little bit overweight, as you can see right here. And one day, one of her favorite anime characters gets killed off in the show, and she loses a bunch of weight. Like she locks herself in a room for a week, doesn't eat, and she comes out looking like this somehow. What? Why can't I do that? It's fine, it's not real. So when she goes back to school the next day, all of the boys that she's standing are now suddenly in love with her. So this book is called Kiss Him, Not Me, because she's so absolutely uncomfortable with the idea of anybody thinking she's attractive. She just wants to imagine it elsewhere. So it's funny. It is funny. It has a lot of character development. And if the story sounds weird to you, I would still say give it a try, because they're teenagers, so it's nothing super serious, but it's funny. So like I said, shoujo manga is mostly like shoujo means girl, but in this video we're going to have several shoujo manga that have male main characters. So this one is called Natsume's Book of Friends. I think that it is shoujo because there's not too much action in it. This book is more about emotional and development, and like Natsume living out his life as he wants to instead of how his relatives want to. So kind of how the story goes is Natsume has been able to see ghosts since he was a kid, it makes him very lonely because all the other children think he's strange. He does not have any parents, so he gets tossed around from relative to relative until they think that his strangeness is too weird, and then they toss him to the next person. Eventually he ends up in the town where his grandmother grew up, and he comes to find out that he inherited his ability to see ghosts from his grandmother, but that's not all he inherited. He also inherited the Book of Friends, which is, this is what this is called, Natsume's Book of Friends, which is a book that his grandmother used to seal spirits to her to do her bidding, however she wanted them to do her bidding. So what ends up happening is that these spirits seek out Natsume because they want their names back. They don't want to be slaves anymore. So it's interesting, it's funny, it's got some action, but really it's like Natsume growing up as a person and finding his way in the world along with his little cat spirit. This next book I struggled to put in shonen or shoujo because it really qualifies as both. This is called Skull-Faced Bookseller Honda-kun. So Honda-kun is a boy, but as you can see, skull face. So it could really be anything, but normally the name Honda is a boy name. So we assume that the main character is a boy, and I'm pretty sure it is anyway. Like, if you read it, it makes more sense that he's a dude. But it's never technically talked about. But so this book, the reason I struggled with it is because the ideas and the themes in the book are really shoujo, but the book itself is very, very comedy heavy. So if you look at this book and you think it's a shonen, read it as a shonen. If you look at this book and you think it's a shoujo, read it as a shoujo. But the point is, this book is funny and it's cute. So what it's about is it's about Honda-kun, and Honda-kun is a manga like bookseller. And so it is literally just about his or her day-to-day struggles in selling manga books and all the weird people that come to get them. So the next book we are going to talk about is called Horimiya, and it is about Hori and Miyamura. So that's kind of, you can kind of see how it gets the name. So this book is cute shoujo. It is about Hori, who is super cute and super put together at school, but when she goes home, she kind of turns into like this cleaning mom thing, and she's like ashamed of like not being beautiful. And then it's also about Miyamura, who looks like this at school, so he looks like a proper student, but then when he's not at school, he looks like this, and he's got a bunch of piercings and tattoos. So the two of them happen to run into each other when they're in their native habitat, when he looks like a tattooed teenager and she looks like an old lady, and they're both like, huh. So Hori is really conscious about how she looks, so she like tries to hide it at school, and their kind of like friendships develops from mutually sharing their secrets when they're not in school. This book is cute. It has romance in it, but not immediately. It doesn't start for quite a while. It has a lot of character development, and of course it has the shoujo-esque comedy. So the next book we are going to talk about is called Monthly Girls Nozaki-kun. Nozaki-kun. Okay, so it looks like Nozaki is the main character, and some might say he is, but also the main character's Chiyo, which is this little girl with the orange hair on the front or on the back. Let me explain this to you, because I love this book. I also love the manga. But anyway, so this book is about Chiyo, who has this huge crush on Nozaki, and she one day, for reasons unknown. Oh no, she's in the art club. And so Nozaki notices that she's good at art, so he invites her over to his house. She thinks that they're gonna go on a date, but really Nozaki turns out to be a manga artist, a very, very popular manga artist who uses a pseudonym. So nobody knows who he is? I feel like that's wrong. The thing that people use that you don't know who they are? Anyway, I'm only a librarian, it's cool. So Nozaki invites her to come make comics with him. And then as the story develops, you learn that all of his other classmates are also secretly helping him create super, super cheesy shoujo manga. So it's funny. Both Chio and Nozaki are like main characters. The stuff that happens, the things that they go on are funny, I think, for both boys and girls. And to be honest, like, it's probably my favorite book that we're gonna talk about for this shoujo. It's great. So next we have an oldie that most people love, Ouran High School Host Club. So Ouran High School Host Club is about Haruhi. Haruhi is a female student, but she kind of looks like a male student because she's got all of her hair chopped off. She wears a uniform, the boys' uniform, because she doesn't like the skirt of the girls' uniform, and all this jazz. So what happens is, in this school, there is a famous host club, which a host club is a bunch of boys who get together and they host girls kind of like at tea parties, and they get paid to be their company. It sounds weird, but it's not. You just have to read it. It's just not something we do in America, but it's something that's done in a lot of other countries, especially Japan. And so she goes into the host club and she accidentally breaks something, and so she owes the host club money. So she becomes a host in the host club, and then antics and ridiculousness ensue. So this is cute. It's got romance. Once again, doesn't develop until later down in the later in the book. At the beginning, it's just like a lot of character development, meeting a lot of different characters and learning about the dynamics between the characters. So this is another one of those manga books with a male lead, and this one is actually a male lead. This is called My Love Story. So this is a hilarious book about Takeo. He is a big kind of like gangster looking man. He's as big as a linebacker. He is a big high school student, and other students are afraid of him. They like think he's a thug, they think he's a bully, but he's not. He is the kindest, sweetest person, and he just doesn't know how to express himself because he's been put in a box his whole life. So he loves cute things. He stitches, he quilts, he reads manga, he does all that stuff. He loves it. But he has just kind of accepted his fate that, nobody's gonna like him for who he is except for his best friend, which is this guy. And then one day he saves this girl, her name is Yamato, on the train for being harassed, and he falls in love with her. And this is when he's like, I'm going to actually try to fight for something that I like. So this whole manga is Takeo trying to make Yamato love him or see him for who he is, while his best friend, who's really good looking, Sunakawa, is just kind of there in the background, like rooting for him, but also might be taking the girl's heart away from him. So it's adorable. So the next book is called Nana, and I would probably recommend this book to teens who are a little bit older, probably like 15 and up, because it does have several themes that might not be appropriate for younger audiences, but it is very good. Nana is about these two girls named Nana. The first one is right here on the cover. This Nana is a 20-year-old woman who is a singer-songwriter, and she is moving to Tokyo in order to pursue her dreams. This other girl, the front cover right here, her name is also Nana, and she is moving to Tokyo after a string of bad relationships so that she can try and start her life over. Both girls end up on the same train, and they meet each other for the first time on the train to Tokyo, and they kind of get along. And then they meet again when they're touring the same apartment. The apartment is expensive, so they decide to become roommates. And from there, the story just continues, where both of these girls are living their separate lives. They're very different to each other, but they become best friends, not just because they have the same name, but because they bond over things that are much deeper. Like I said, this book does have some themes that are for a little bit older, but it has amazing, amazing character development, and you really see deep down into who these people are. So if you're looking for a deeper story, I would suggest Nana. So this is our last book, and it's kind of a thick one because it's got 3 books in one, but this is a very old, very popular shoujo manga called Hot Gimmick. And so Hot Gimmick is about this girl named Hatsumi, and she lives in a building that is owned by the company her father works for, so their family has to be very good, because if they act up at home, then it might cause him problems at work. Well, Hatsumi's younger sister one day thinks she might be pregnant, so Hatsumi goes to the store to buy her a pregnancy test, and unfortunately gets found out by Ryoki, who is the son of the head of the company, and so he uses this pregnancy test to blackmail Hatsumi into becoming his slave. So she has to do his homework, she has to do his laundry, she has to cook his meals for him, all this stuff, because she doesn't want her father to get fired from his job. This book is similar to Nana, where it has a lot of character development. I still think it's fine for kids that are younger. It's just it's not super cutesy like most shoujo manga. It has a rough storyline. The characters really develop, and a lot of real world issues are talked about in this manga. So it's a good read. As you can see, this one is a little thicker. So it's a thick read, but it's fun. This is only the first one, so there are several more after this. All right, everybody, so those are 10 shoujo, I was gonna say shonen, shoujo mangas that you can find at the library. There are many more, as you can see behind me, we've got some shoujo here, but those were the 10 that I decided to highlight because I love them. I mean, I love all manga, but I love those ones. And they're really pretty popular. So we have covered popular titles, we have covered shonen manga, and now we have covered shoujo manga. So our very last installment of this series is going to be isekai manga, and that will be coming up next. So I hope you guys stay tuned for that. And as always, I hope to see you at the library. Bye.